welcome into yet another edition of the Baseline Jumper podcast. Jason Goldstein and Ben McDonald here with you. And this week, we're here to talk about the All-Star game because given the news that happened a couple weeks ago now with Kobe Bryant, the NBA really acted quickly to make it a fun and honorable All-Star format that will honor the memory of Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant, all 7 of those people that were lost on the helicopter accident that happened in late January. But Ben, I mean, the All-Star format is super interesting. We have our rosters, we have our draft, and we think that this new format is just really good for the league. I think it's going to make a lot of casual fans really get into what's happening. So I just want to get your initial thoughts, Ben, on the new format here in 2020 for the All-Star game.
Well, I mean, I think that we teased this a little bit on Tuesday's show, but it's pretty awesome the way that the NBA handled the Kobe Bryant news and the way that they managed to innovate and do something creative that didn't feel like it changed the game in such a way that it would kind of offend more conservative basketball fans, but also in a way that does feel really respectful to Kobe Bryant and to his daughter Gianna and their legacies. And it's just fun. I mean, it gives all the players a chance. You could see, I kind of saved this from when we talked on Tuesday, but you can see how much this stuff means to the players, which I think is one of the coolest parts. I think if there's one criticism of the All-Star game, Jason, besides the lack of defense, it's kind of right in line with that the players don't really care. And I think one of the most just amazing and awesome things about this whole thing that the NBA has done is it's just shown how much the players care. Damian Lillard going crazy on the night that they're celebrating Kobe Bryant has a monster game, and since then it's just been on a roll, and it just gives you this sense of, and whether or not it's true or not, it just gives you the sense that these players are so into it, that they're so motivated by these things, and then it makes you feel like a part of something bigger than just yourself or just a game of basketball. It feels big and important, and I love that, and I love that Silver, that's obviously Commissioner Silver, was able to do this without dramatically changing the game, and was able to kind of put it in, but also give a little hat tip to Kobe, give the players some ability to do stuff. I thought it was great that they got to pick which one they wanted to be. LeBron ends up with Gianna, and Giannis gets to represent Kobe. I mean, all that stuff was so cool.
So let's paint a brief picture for those who are unaware of the new format. But basically, with the draft, you're going to have 2 teams of 12, mixed East and West. LeBron on one side, as Ben said, Giannis on the other. And then they're going to have 3 12-minute quarters with 0-0 at the start of every quarter. So, you know, if it's 48-41 at the start at the first quarter, then they're going to start 0-0 in the second and the third, with the winners of each quarter getting to donate $100,000 to the charity of their choice, which I think is another fantastic addition. And then for the fourth quarter, whatever your cumulative score is through the first 3, add 24 points in honor of Kobe, and the first team to get to that marker wins the All-Star game. So I think it's an incredible way of injecting some life into the midseason classic. You look at baseball back when, you know, the winner of the All-Star game was home field in the World Series, made the players try hard. The Pro Bowl's really gone by the wayside. And you've seen hockey try and get creative with their skills, showcasing their skills in their All-Star game. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I just love the way the format's going to work, especially given everything that's gone on the last couple of weeks. But I think it's going to be fun for the players and fun for the league, and it'll bring some new fans to the sport for sure.
Yeah, it's just great. I just love it. I think that they did a great job of kind of hitting the middle ground of it perfectly. I think, you know, it's one of the things that we look at some other sports and it's tough for them to make adjustments without alienating fans. And this just felt like such a great way for them to do it. I mean, the only thing I still want to see more of the picks. I want to see the players get picked, and I know they don't want to see who's the last pick, and guys don't want that. But that's the best part of some of these changes from the year before. It's just you get to see the teams get picked. You get to make your own team. I love that. So great moves by the NBA the last couple years, honoring Kobe, making the game more fun, making it more interesting. And Jason, we're talking all about this year's All-Star game, but you and I have been fans for many years. We've been watching these All-Star games since the 90s, which really dates us at this point, Jason. I mean, it's stunning to me that talking about a 1990s All-Star game makes us old, but it certainly does. But Jason, with that kind of in mind, I think we should share some of our favorite All-Star memories. Are you game?
I am game, my friend. Let's do this. So I'm going to go first because you were so kind on our last podcast to let me take the initial marquee matchup of the week. And I can't help but feel like I stole this one from you. I don't know if you feel that way, but my favorite All-Star game, and this goes back to even before Ben and I came into this world in 1990, but mine was 2003. The West beat the East 155 to 145. But that game stands out on so many levels because that was Michael Jordan's 14th and final All-Star game appearance. But you had a guy like Vince Carter, who was voted in as a starter by the fans because, Ben, this was back when the fans determined the starters. And Vince Carter relinquished his starting spot to Michael Jordan to allow him to start with AI and T-Mac and Ben Wallace and Jermaine O'Neal, what was a fun and memorable All-Star game that will go down as MJ's last. And I just thought that was so good for the sport. Vince Carter had all that negative publicity in Toronto, and this was his final All-Star game before he was traded to the New Jersey Nets. So Vince giving up a spot to MJ was fun, and just the talent in that game with Gary Payton, Kobe, Francis, Yao, Shaq, Garnett, Duncan. I mean, the list goes on and on. Paul Pierce, Antoine Walker, Brad Miller was an all-star that year, if you could believe it. Zydrunas Ilgauskas was an all-star in that year, but none of that matters. It was just cool to see, what Vince did and to see MJ go out like that, even though it was a loss for the East. I think that's my favorite all-star game memory.
Yeah, and it's right before LeBron comes into the league and just a big moment for basketball history. For me, it doesn't have all the fireworks of MJ's last All-Star game, but this is probably more of a personal one for me because I would say that the most interested I've ever really been in the league was in 2011 with the Chicago Bulls being one of the best teams in the league and one of my favorite players of all time, probably my second favorite player of all time behind MJ in Kobe Bryant, being the All-Star MVP in the 2011 game. He takes over at the end of the game, and there's always this saying around the media that no one plays defense in the game until the last 5 minutes of the game. And Kobe kind of just went off to end this game. And I remember it because it was the first time where anyone actually seemingly took it seriously. The end of the game, you could tell that he didn't want to lose. And so he ended up taking a bunch of the shots at the end of the game, ends up winning the All-Star MVP. He had something like 37 points and just went crazy. And it was so much fun. And as a guy who is a huge Kobe fan, and especially now when I was thinking back of all my favorite Kobe memories, this was one that kind of perked up. So talking about All-Star games, it only seemed fair when we have all this dedicated to Kobe that the last MVP he got as an All-Star game player would be one of my favorite memories of the game in general. So kudos to Kobe and again, great things from Silver to get this going for this year, and hopefully some people make some other shout outs during the game. But at any rate, Jason, beyond the game itself, as anyone who follows the league knows, there are two other marquee events. I'm going to kind of say that the Rising Stars Challenge has still not really gotten to that point. The Celebrity Game, sure. But the two big ones are the dunk contest and the three-point contest. And there are some moments in these, Jason, that I think I enjoy almost just as much as the All-Star Game itself. And I'm going to start with the dunk contest because one of my favorite dunks of all time that has kind of gotten forgotten in history, I think, is the Gerald Green cupcake dunk, where he blows out the candle on the cupcake as he dunks. It's one of my favorite, most creative dunks. I think if it was a more famous player, we would remember it more. But because Green never really capitalized on his talent, I think it kind of gets overlooked. But it's absolutely one of my favorites. So creative, so interesting. What about you, Jason? You have any dunks that you remember?
First of all, I remember that Gerald Green dunk like it was yesterday. Okay, that was fantastic. And Gerald Green actually became more relevant after the fact because he had some years on some bad teams, but was a staple in that Houston Rockets rotation for much of the last few postseasons and was playing. So I thought that Gerald Green did make a nice little NBA career out of himself, but I'm going to cheat the system here. I'm going to give two. I'm going to go. My runner up is Vince Carter in the 1998 contest where he kind of stuck his whole elbow in the rim and
Oh
it's
yeah.
over and the 360 through the legs. I mean, that might be my favorite memory from when I was a kid watching the dunk contest. I'm just so sick of the announcers saying every year that the dunk contest is back like it leaves every year. Like every time someone lands a big dunk, the dunk contest is back. No, it's on every year, buddy. But I'm going to go with Blake Griffin jumping over the car. And I almost said Dwight Howard with the Superman cape and put the sticker of his face on the backboard and dunked. But Blake Griffin jumping over the Kia, not only getting an endorsement deal in the process, but winning that dunk contest, I mean, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and just so everyone listening knows, we are very open to endorsements. If you would like to endorse us, we will jump over cars, trains, other automobiles, whatever you like. Uh, so, but yeah, Jason, great ones. The Vince Carter one is a great one, and one of the best parts of watching that one is seeing the guys in the suits because they still had the old 90s suits on, which were super boxy, and they didn't know how to make them for people who were taller than 6 feet. So they have these horrendous suits on all throughout the games and stuff. Oh, it's so good. Watching some of those old All-Star games with some of the outfits are hilarious. But going from there, Jason, let's talk about the three-point contest. And I'm gonna lead off because maybe my favorite All-Star moment. It's before my time, but you can find this. I mean, you can hear stories of it from the Low Post with Zach Lowe. I believe there's even a video on YouTube of this. But Larry Bird, before the three-point contest, I believe it was before the first one, goes into the locker room, Jason, talks to the guys, and very earnestly asks them, so which of you guys is trying to get second tonight? Because he was so confident he would win, and of course he did. Won the first one, won the second one, won the third one, and then Jason, just generally, anytime Steph Curry's involved in shooting three-pointers, I'm in. In his three-point contest, he got to go against Klay Thompson. Obviously, he got bested by your boy Joe Harris last year, but just Steph Curry in general, he makes it so much fun. That little flick release, I love it. So just phenomenal memories of watching him shoot that beautiful jump shot. You got any three-point memories that you enjoy?
So more recently, you had the years where the Splash Brothers won them back to back in 15
Yep.
and 16, with Steph winning in 15 and then Clay winning a year later in Toronto. Devin Booker winning it 2 years ago stands out, especially since that kid is so deserving of being an actual NBA All Star. And it's kind of nice that he got to go on that stage and win the 3-point shootout. But I'm going to go all the way back to the early 2000s. My man, Peja Stojakovic, winning it in back-to-back years as a member of the Sacramento Kings. And I completely forget that he was on that 2011 Mavericks championship roster and then retired shortly thereafter. But, you had Dirk in the league back then, but Peja was probably one of the best pure shooters of that generation of players and was in that famed 1996 NBA draft that also had guys like Kobe and Allen Iverson and Steve Nash. But Peja carved out a really nice career for himself, had a couple All-Star appearances, but watching him win the three-point shootout back then, 17, 18 years ago, was really memorable for me.
And it's amazing when you go back because you see these guys, like one of the names that popped up was Craig Hodges, who won a bunch of these. And you just think about these guys who, if they played in today's league, Jason, with how many threes they're shooting, goodness gracious, how many threes they are shooting, some of these guys would have completely different careers in today's league. And it's really really interesting to kind of reimagine how these guys would be playing. And if you look at this year's three-point contest, Jason, I mean they're adding the longer shot, which I think is going to be really cool. They're going to allow them to shoot these deep shots that are worth more points, but also I think it's worth noting. I'm gonna read you off, Jason, just a couple of the leading guys for this year's three-point contest. We've got Damian Lillard, Buddy Hield, Davis Bertans, Trae Young, Devonte Graham, Duncan Robinson, Joe Harris, and Zach LaVine. And the reason I'm reading this off is you look at the last few years, one of the big changes is that after Bird, there were just fewer and fewer stars.